I haven't done this setup in a while, so I'm just gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna do a live mow of the putting green. I got off work really late tonight, so it's pretty late. It's been a while since I've done one of these live. I'm not quite sure how my mic's set up, so I'm just gonna do this. It's gonna be a very quick mow. Look, I got some birds tearing up my putting green right here. I really don't know what they're digging for. I'm pretty sure I don't have any worms down in there, and it's not really grubs, but they've been kind of doing that lately. So after the mow here, I'm just going to put my new prism gauge down on the putting green and kind of show how that works. And it's just going to be a real quick, live type of thing. It's like 7:45, almost 10 to 8. One of the things that I wanted to mention that I didn't talk about on my live, and I'll probably talk about it on my live this Sunday, was, how you doing? I haven't really talked about one of the things I really wanted to talk about, and it has to do with watering and fertilizing. I watch videos all the time. I probably watch too many sometimes. I get some downtime at work, having to wait and stuff like that. So I just watch, quick videos. And I hear people talking about, applying, a fertilizer or whatever. It's not really important what kind. What's really important is, when you're applying a new fertilizer, especially like something that contains nitrogen, because I don't really care about phosphorus and potassium, but if you do, that's fine. I don't care. But one of the important things, one of the things I never really thought about, and I have never really talked about, was people talk about well, once you apply the whatever fertilizer you're putting on your lawn, you got to water it in. And I was watching this one video where this guy just said, point blank, water your lawn for 30 minutes. And like I say, I don't know how well this live's going to go with this setup. I'm just doing a real quick GoPro live here, so I know the connection's probably maybe a little fuzzy or in and out. I don't know. Anyways, you can't just do a blanket 30-minute watering. If I did a 30-minute watering on my lawn, I would flood it. I use, I've talked about it before, the impact sprinklers, they put out like 3 gallons a minute or whatever. And I only run my sprinklers for a lot of times less than 5 minutes when I water. And I am a frequent and light watering person. That's just what I've learned. That's what I've always done on my lawn. I like it. I don't have any problems with it. And on top of that, the research shows, that's the best way to water your lawn. Not to say that deep and infrequent won't work too. Of course it will. But here's the thing. You don't want to wash a fresh batch of down deep into your soil where the roots aren't going to have access to it. And when you water in any nutrient, whether it's liquid, whether it's granular, no matter what, you want to keep that fertilizer within the roots. And the longer you water, the deeper you push that fertilizer down into the ground, you know, the more you're going to lose of it. So the recommendation here is, you know, you need to know, or you need to understand your sprinkler system, no matter what it is. If you got a hand sprinkler or you have an in-ground sprinkler system, you really need to know how much you're putting down. And, you know, I personally am a firm believer and get the best results out of my putting green and my Kentucky Bluegrass with light and frequent watering. And I've been doing this for 4 years now. That's about as long as I've had this lawn. The first 6 months of when I put the putting green in and all that kind of stuff, you know, I was following all these lawn care channel guys, and I was putting all these products on my lawn. And personally, I feel lawn and my putting green and everything has always looked better not putting all those products on my lawn. And just like I talked about in my live this last weekend, you know, I guess I probably should have turned my mower down a little bit. You know, I'm really convinced that a lot of these lawn care guys, you know, they hear about how the turf grass, you know, through amino acids and you know, bacteria, enzymes, you know, all these different, you know, plant reactions, you know, sugars and all this kind of stuff. They take it so literal, like you have to add those things. And it's not really that you have to add those things. You know, the plant is already doing that. The plant is creating the environment it needs to survive. And the plant will give you signs and show you the signs of deficiencies. And so that's all it is for the mow. I'm going to go inside the garage here and I'm going to get the prism gauge. It's just right here. I really like this measuring, you know, height measuring device, because I can see my you know, how well the blade's being cut and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know how well this is going to show up with this view that I got going here on my camera. I can't really change it once I'm in the live, so let's see if I can get down here on it. I hope that's coming in kind of clear, but you know, you're probably saying, oh, that's not even reading anything, man. Yeah, it is reading, because I'm mowing at 1.6. I think it's actually set at 1.7 right now. 1.7 millimeters. 1.7 is about 0.068, I think it is. 0.068. Most golf courses are mowing at 0.10. 0.10 is a little above 2 millimeters. So this is kind of what, I don't know what the best angle is to look at this gauge. And yeah. So that was the big thing I just kind of wanted to add. And I just doing this mow, I thought about, you know, talking about this last weekend, and I never did. And this is August, and my putting green. I did just apply a second application of Tenacity on my Kentucky Bluegrass. I don't apply it on my bent grass, of course, because that's what I'm trying to kill in my Kentucky Bluegrass. So this was the third week of doing multiple Tenacity applications to kill the bent grass in my Kentucky Bluegrass. So
It's actually kind of hard to find where some of these spots were, because the bent grass is pretty much on the surface gone, but it doesn't mean it's gone below surface. There might be a little bit right in here. You know, I mow so low that it's kind of hard to find it sometimes. The best way to find it is just because of the lightness of the color. This is probably a little bit of bent grass right here. So it's going to take a few applications of tenacity to get rid of this. This might be a little bit of bent grass right here too. I don't know, we'll kind of see what happens in the next week with all that. So that was what my plan was for the live. Just to kind of talk about nutrients and watering, and kind of the importance of not watering too heavy when you apply any kind of fertilizer, whether it's granular, liquid, whatever. I'm all liquid, and I use urea and I melt it down. I feel that's the best way to apply urea. And, you know, just remember, nitrogen is nitrogen. You know, whether it's slow release, fast release, all that kind of stuff, it doesn't matter what brand of nitrogen you use. There's nothing special about any different nitrogens other than maybe ammonium sulfate compared to urea, compared to ammonium nitrate. They're all going to do the same thing. They're all going to green your grass. And whether it's fast release, slow release, it's all going to make your grass grow. So don't get bogged down in what people are telling you about using a 3800 or using a 3100 or using a 2100, or on the liquid side using a 700 with iron, and you know, all these things, 4600, 2100. You know, it doesn't matter what the number is, okay, because that's just a percentage of nitrogen. Okay, so the lower the number, the more fertilizer you're going to have to apply to get the right amount of pounds of nitrogen. So, and I'm not going to get into all the details on that, but since I do a 4600, I apply half as much as I do if I was applying ammonium sulfate at 2100. Same thing, 3800, it's going to be a little bit heavier on nitrogen than 3100. And those are the things that you just need to keep in mind. And then on the backside, once you put it down, if it's granular, water it in immediately. You'll prevent burning in your lawn. Liquid-wise, same thing. You want to get that watered in. Whether you melt down urea or ammonium sulfate or whatever and spray it on your lawn, it's all the same. If you put a pound of ammonium sulfate into your backpack sprayer for 1,000 square feet in 1 gallon, it's still 21% nitrogen. If you put a pound of urea in your backpack sprayer with a gallon of water and cover 1,000 square feet, it's still 46% nitrogen that you're putting down. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. It all comes out the same. The only benefit, and I'm going to say the only benefit that I get from using granular to spray is, you know, since my lawn's so short, I don't have to worry about the prill size and all that kind of garbage. And, you know, you pay more money for smaller prills and all that kind of stuff. If you just melt down some urea at the amount you want and spray it on, water it in, you're going to get a much more even coverage, a better application, and you're going to water it in, and it's going to be the exact same thing as if you applied the granular. And if your lawn's at, you know, 2-3 inches, whatever, of course applying granular is just fine. You just have to remember, when you apply nitrogen, water it in lightly. Do not put tons of water. Do not run your sprinkler for 30 minutes. Unless, of course, to get 1/10 of an inch of water takes you 30 minutes, then of course you're going to want to run your sprinkler, because you're going to want somewhere between, you're going to want less than 1/4 of an inch of water. Definitely. So anyways, that's what I got for you. Hope